Hey guys, how's it going today? We're going to get started in about 10 seconds or so. Okay guys, let's bow in. Hope everyone's having a great day today. Attention and bow. Today we have a great class planned. We're going to be working on our sweeps. To get things off, we're going to do a warm-up. Our warm-up is going to be a lines warm-up. So we're going to be going back and forth, doing a variety of different techniques. If you don't have the space, of course, you can just practice statically. If you don't have a bow, you can go grab a broom, any long type of stick, anything that'll work similar to a bow. So to start things off, guys, we're just going to start with a flourish. I'm going to be moving back and forth across the room. Again, if you don't have the space, that's totally okay to just make do and just train statically. Okay, so all I'm going to be doing is just moving in a flourish. I'm just kind of warming up my wrists and getting my body going here so that I can get a little bit of blood pumping. So I'm going to go right dominant one direction, and then I'm going to go left dominant the other, just so that I can get that equal training. And I want to just take my time going through. I want to keep my wrists nice and loose when I'm going through this one. And I want to keep the bow fairly tight to my body. It's going to make the flourish look a little bit more polished when I do it that way. Okay, so, excuse me, we want to make sure we're always using a different hand as we go through as our dominant hand, just so we get that balanced training. Good, and then back the other way. We're going to go one more time with this one. This is a really nice flow drill. One way that we can do another warm-up is just doing spinning with the bow. It's a really nice way to warm up, and it helps quite a bit with the hand-eye coordination with the bow, and just a really nice feel for it. Okay, next one we're going to do is butterflies. Now we're going to be butterflying back and forth. So whatever direction we're butterflying in, we're going to want to spin the bow that way. Okay, so I'm going to start moving to my right. And all I'm going to do is spin the bow in the same direction that I'm going. Now, if you're not an all-star with this one, you can just make sure that you're kind of moving slow. If you're getting comfortable with it, try and see how quickly you can get the bow going across, or try and see if you can focus on not looking at the bow as you go through, because that would be the next step in the progression, going through. As you can see, I'm doing crossovers as I switch the bow. So when both my palms are up, I try and cross over with my one foot in front of the other, depending on which direction I'm going. Okay? And then again, we're going to go this one more time. You'll notice I'm pumping my elbows up. So what that does is it kind of gives the bow like a little bit more torque when I'm going through it like this. Okay, next one we're going to do, guys, is going to be, just going to go high knees, just moving back and forth across the room, just real lightly. Just want to drive those knees up. I like to hold the bow in an overhand grip when I do this one, so that's both palms are down. Good, and then back the other way. We're going to do this one more time, going back and forth. Maybe try and get maybe, I don't know, 30 knee pumps in each direction. Good, I'm trying to make sure that I keep my knees about waist height. If you can get higher than that, that's great. I'm going to do butt kickers now, so I'm going to try and bring my heels up as I go through. Good, I'm going to go the other way. The older I get, guys, the more I enjoy making sure I get like a really good warm-up, avoiding the muscle strains, that sort of thing. For myself personally, for training, I used to be quite a bit into the weights and that sort of thing, but I've really balanced out, trying to do a mix of weights, cardio, martial arts, polymetric exercises, that sort of thing. So I like the balance, and the martial arts is kind of like a nice in-between for the technical side too. Next one we're going to do, we're just going to move across going in a front thrust. So chamber, thrust, and I'm going to switch hands. Chamber, thrust, switch hands, switch. For an ultimate bow style forward thrust, we're going to make sure we're in a long forward stance and the bow is perfectly horizontal. Okay, the traditional ones are a fair bit different. These ones feel quite nice though. You get that nice wrist twist as I go through. Okay, we're going to go there and back one more time. On these ones, guys, I really like to focus on looking at my stance. Am I in a nice forward stance? Are my feet pointed forward, or is my back foot off to the side? Is my back leg straight? Is my front knee bent? All those things we want to be watching for so we have a nice, clean, technical forward thrust, front thrust. Of course, this is just a warm-up, so if you're feeling warmed up, feel free to crush it as hard as you want. If you're still getting those muscles warmed up, take your time, ease into it. We're going to go there and back one more time. Back the other way. This is also a really nice way to practice with our stance transition. So switching dominant stances while we're doing lines really helps with that. Next one we're going to do, this will be our last one for our warm-up. We're just going to do uppercuts. Okay, I'm going to do my uppercut. I'm going to get a nice big windmill. I'm going to do them in a back stance. Okay, and then I'm going to switch hands, step into the other side, switch hands, step in. If you'll notice, I'm trying to make sure that I get a nice windmill motion with the bow. Okay, so we can start this one in just a fighting stance, and then I move into my back stance. Nice windmill every time. So for focus on my hand switching, I want to make sure slide one hand up and then replace it. So you should have one hand on the bow at all times. That hand slides up, strike. Hand slides up, strike. And the hands are basically replacing each other. You have to have maybe a couple micro adjustments to make sure that they stay in the right spot, but it should be pretty smooth with lots of repetition. Uppercut, uppercut, uppercut. Of course, when I'm going through this, I want to make sure that I'm paying attention to whatever stance that I want to be in. I want to make sure that I stay in that correct stance. Okay, let's grab a quick water, guys, then we're going to get into the lesson. Today's lesson is all about sweeps. We're going to do a quick review of sweep, and then we're going to incorporate some strikes into it, okay? So, to start things off, I'm going to be in a right fighting stance. All I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the bow up over my head. I'm going to take my right foot and step out to the side, opening up my hips, and then I'm going to get back into my ready position. So, my front foot is stepping out to the side, and my hips are snapping into that strike as I go across. The hips are going to be assisting with the strike to make it more powerful, and it'll give it a really nice polished look. Things I want to avoid: my front foot, I don't want it stepping back. I'm doing a forward sweep, okay? So it just is moving out. So there's some variation we can do on those, and we'll get into those in a little bit. But for now, we're going to make sure that that front foot stays in front of us, and my lead foot is just maybe turning about 30 degrees to allow my hips to open when I go through that strike. So again, I'm going to be in my fighting stance, or you could even get yourself in a forward stance. I'm going to bring the bow up over my head and then sweep it across and then back to ready. Really trying to focus on snapping the hip into that strike, getting the bow well above my head, and it's what that's going to do is going to generate momentum when I come across. So once you start sweeping the bow more quickly, you should hear it cutting through the wind. So I'm using my rattan bow today, which is in the ballpark of maybe just under 2 pounds, which is, it's one of my heavier bows. You can still really hear it cutting through the wind. So if your mechanics are good, you should hear that slicing through, okay? I'm gonna do these together with you guys. I'm gonna go through various different angles if you're watching. If you're just watching, get up off the couch and join in. Ready, and sweep, and then back to ready. You can also transition the bow back into your ready stance very quickly. Okay, from there. So you'll notice my foot comes back a little bit, but it's not going behind me or parallel with my other foot. So again, sweep, back to ready, sweep, back to ready, sweep, and back to ready. I'm going right through. I want to make sure that that sweep is low. I want to avoid the sweep coming across, being at the waist height. I'd like it ideally fairly low. I would say probably at the knee or slightly below the knee is where you'd want it. Probably, I would be targeting maybe, I don't know, that the upper part of the shin or the middle of the shin would be great. Anywhere from there to there would be ideal. Okay, a couple more on this side, and then we're going to go to left dominant. Sweep. Really focusing on accuracy of the strike. A couple facing you guys. Good. Now let's switch sides. Let's go left dominant. So again, that left foot now is going to step out to the side, and I'm going to move back into my ready position. Okay? Together with me, bringing the bow up, sweep, back to ready, focusing on opening up those hips to assist with the strike. Stay with me, guys. Okay, let's get that left foot in front again. Different angle for you guys. Bringing the bow up, sweeping across. This is one technique that really leads into a whole bunch of different ones, and that's what today's lesson plan is all about, is sweeps and what you can add into that. There's a lot of variations that you can use. We're going to touch on kind of just the tip of the iceberg on what you can do. Good. Okay, quick drink for me. Then we're going to move on. We're going to start focusing on some sweeping combinations. So we're going to go with a sweep overhead front strike. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start in a right dominant. I'm going to do that same sweeping mechanic. Notice what I'm going to do is I'm going to chamber the bow on my right shoulder and then step into my strike so that I land in a forward stance. Now, quick notes on the overhead front strike. Just want to make sure I get it chambered and that I have nice clean posture. The bow comes down. It should be, if I'm in a right dominant, my left hand should be coming up against my belt or my hip. And I want to make sure that that lead hand snaps, should be fairly straight, and I have nice posture. My right knee should be bent, my back knee should be straight. All those mechanics put together is going to make it look like a nice clean technique. We're going to go through this one together. Okay. I'm in my right dominant. I'm going to bring the bow up, sweep. From there, I'm going to bring the bow up, chambering it on my right shoulder. Notice that I'm preparing with my right foot, and then I step into the strike. I'm using a rattan bow. There's going to be a little bit of a wobble on the tip. The wobble tells me if I'm using a flexible bow, rattan or bamboo, that I have a nice wrist snap. The tip will wobble a little bit when you have that. If you have a hardwood bow, it's going to be very difficult to make it do that. Okay. Together again from a right fighting stance. I'm going to bring that sweep, chamber, strike. As you get more comfortable, you're going to want to try and make it fluent throughout so you can avoid the breakdown and just try and move through the whole technique smoothly. Okay. So one more time breaking down, then we're going to try and go through it a little bit more fluently. So I'm going to bring up the bow, sweep, chamber, overhead front strike. Again, I'm checking my stances to make sure that they're polished, and I'm making sure that I'm checking all the boxes on my chamber. Am I opening up my hips on the sweep? Does my overhead front strike have a nice wrist snap at the end? What does my posture look like in the finish? Okay. We're going to try and make it a little bit more fluid now. Okay. We're going to go a little bit slower, but we're going to make it fluid. Sweep, chamber, strike. Okay. Different angle. Sweep, chamber, strike. Okay, we're going to pick up the speed a little bit on this one now. We're going to get a few reps in at regular speed. Of course, if you want to let out a nice spirited Kia, go for it. Good. We're going to go left dominant now. Okay. So if you're right-handed, the left hand dominant might feel a little bit awkward. Okay. Of course, I'm sweating like a beast, which is normal for me. Okay. I'm going to come around and I'm going to bring the bow up, sweep, chamber, overhead front strike. Again, I'm making sure that I land in a nice forward stance. The bow is rested on my hip. My front hand is straight, and I'm chambering and snapping my wrist into that strike. So again, I want to make sure that I'm getting the mechanics down correctly. Bring the bow up, sweep, chamber, overhead front strike. Again with me, sweep, chamber, overhead front strike. Sweep, chamber, overhead front strike. One more, and then we're going to do it a little bit more fluently. Sweep, chamber, overhead front strike. Okay, let's try and do it fluently now. It doesn't have to be fast. Let's just ease into it. Okay. Of course, if you're comfortable with it, just go ahead and crush that. Okay. Ready. And 1, 2. So we want to make sure that we're getting the mechanics down first before we start really ramping up the speed. So breakdown first, then we want to get fluent, then we want to incorporate the power. Okay? The power comes after the repetition. Let's do a couple more on this side. The left side, I like to get extra reps in. Back up a little bit for you guys. Good. Okay. Next one we're going to go on to, guys, it's going to be a sweep, reverse uppercut. Now, I like this one quite a bit. Moving forward, then backwards. Okay. So on the sweep, I'm going to bring my foot forward, sweep, and then I'm going to move back into my reverse uppercut. I'm going to try and not lose my balance. Okay. As I'm coming around with that reverse uppercut, I'm going to be in a cross stance, coming across. And if you'll notice when I come around, that hip my hand should be resting on my hip or on my belt when I go through that. The reverse uppercut, the bow is moving around in a windmill motion. So if you're not familiar with the uppercut, it's just moving. Imagine you're going in a circle, going backwards. So it's spinning to I'm rotating it to my dead side. Okay, so if I switched hands, it's going in a backward circle to my dead side. Okay, different angle for you guys. And that's a great way to memorize that movement, is just have it go around in that backward circle, resting your hand closest to the heel of the bow on your hip. And then when you switch, you're going to go around the other way. It should be pretty darn close to a full circle on that reverse uppercut movement. So now the mechanics of this one, when I'm in that right fighting stance or that forward stance, however you prefer to start it, you're going to go into your sweep. I don't want this front foot to cheat backwards. I want to keep it a nice, clean, polished technique. So when I do that, that foot, it still just kind of steps out to the side. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to start bringing it around in my circle into that uppercut. Now, the targeting I like to focus on with this one is right underneath the chin. This could be a groin strike as well, okay? Every good martial artist has groin strike in their repertoire. And you could do this as a groin strike as well. I like to do it emphasizing that it would be going right through the chin, okay? So moving this one through slowly. We're going to be in our right fighting stance. We're going to bring the bow up, sweep. I'm going to continue that sweep coming around, and then I'm going to move into my reverse uppercut. So if you're not comfortable with it yet, a nice way to break this one down is sweep, and then I'm going to step back. I'm going to bring the bow up, step back, and then I do my uppercut. Sweep, step back, uppercut. Once you're a little bit more comfortable with it, sweep, try and do the step back and uppercut at the same time. Slowly, we're going to incorporate them all in together, okay? We're going to do a few from a few different angles, and what we're going to do is slowly, step by step, and then we're going to get into a little bit more fluently, and then we're going to try it at regular speed. Okay, so breaking it down together with me. Sweep, step back, uppercut. Try and avoid catching your forehead with your hand. Okay, that was a grazing shot for me. Sweep, step back, reverse uppercut. Different angle for you guys. Sweep, step back, reverse uppercut. I'm making sure when I do my sweep that it's clearing right through. I'm not stopping it right here. That would be a knee strike, okay? A sweep is sweeping right through the target. Sweep, you guys see, I'm really clearing the body. I'm going right through my target, and then I'm stepping back in my uppercut. Once I'm more comfortable with it, I want it to be all fluid together so that the bow completes the strike as I'm stepping into my cross stance, so it all finishes at the same time. Really gives it a nice clean look, okay? A couple more, and then we're going to move through it a little bit more fluently. Sweep, uppercut. Sweep, step back, uppercut. Have that nice rowing motion. Keep in mind, this backhand, it should be helping manipulate the bow. It's not all up to my front hand to do all the work. This back one actually should be really doing a levering motion, pulling it up. You guys notice I can really manipulate this bow quite well by going into that stance, that direction. Using your backhand, it really helps generate some nice power. Okay, we're going to go through it a little bit more fluently now, okay? So we're in my right fighting stance. Sweep, reverse uppercut. As I'm following through, I've just passed my body, and as soon as that happens, I'm going to pick up my right foot and move the bow so that they move together. The stance should land as the uppercut is striking, very close, if not completely synchronized together. Sweep, reverse uppercut. Sweep, reverse uppercut. Sweep, reverse uppercut. Always bringing that bow around, guys, so that it lands right on my hip. And you can even have it so that it kind of makes an audible sound. So what that does is when I come around, you guys can hear that. It's making an audible sound right when the strike is completing. And as what that does is it gives it like a nice audible, polished sound at the completion of the strike. You can incorporate that for a lot of these strikes. Okay, a little bit more fluently now on this side. Me in my right fighting stance. Okay, sweep, reverse uppercut. This one has really nice flow to it. Let's do one more on this side. When I do this one, I really try and emphasize the precision end of it. So I try and keep my movements nice and crisp, stopping the bow on a dime on that reverse uppercut. I find that it makes it look very impressive that way. Left dominant. So again, that uppercut motion as I'm stepping back, my hand should be coming around, making contact with my hip or my belt as I go through. I'm simulating then coming up and either catching someone through the groin or through the chin. Step by step with me, guys. In that left dominant, I'm going to bring the bow up, sweep, step back with my left foot crossing it over, uppercut. Want to have a nice clean cross stance. You should be able to plie when you're in that cross stance. Okay. Sweep, reverse uppercut. And again, sweep, reverse uppercut. Sweep, reverse uppercut. Breaking it down. First you get good, then you get fast, okay? Sweep, reverse uppercut, okay? Sweep, reverse uppercut. Try and make it a little bit more fluid now. Okay, I'm going to be in a left fighting stance again. Bring the bow up, sweep, reverse uppercut. Sweep, reverse uppercut. Really focusing on flow. Left-handed is going to feel a little bit more awkward than right dominant if you're right-handed, vice versa if you're left-handed. So it may require a few more reps to get comfortable with this one. In that left fighting stance again, bring the bow up, sweep, reverse uppercut. One thing I notice, guys, on the left dominant side, if you're right-handed, is a common mistake or common error is on the sweep. A lot of students bring it much too high. So we want to make sure that when we're in that stance, we bring it up, get it nice and low. We don't want it scraping the ground, but we want to get it so that it's low enough so that I can get into a nice sweeping motion, which is going to flow nicely into that reverse uppercut. So really watching accuracy if you're on your non-dominant side. You guys will notice I'm really bringing the bow up and then moving in. Once you have a higher comfort level with this one, you're not going to have to hold it up there and pause. You're just going to go right into it, one fluid motion. Different direction for you guys. Good. Shake it out. Grab like a 10-second water here, guys. We got one left to do. For this one, we're going to do a downward thrust followed by a reverse sweep. There's lots of different variations you can do even within this combination. We'll touch on them a little bit. To start off, I'm going to get in my fighting stance. Take my right foot, I'm going to bring it back. As I chamber the bow, I'm going to do a downward thrust. Bring the bow up, sweep, and then I'm going to get into a batting stance. So I like to start this one off with a nice strong chamber, and then we're going to move right into that reverse baseball bat, or sorry, the reverse sweep rather, okay? So together with me, to start in a right fighting stance, I'm going to take the bow, bringing it up to chamber, and I'm going to come back, snapping my hips. You'll notice as the bow comes down, my hip snaps into it. The strike should be in alignment with my body, okay? I'm going to bring the bow up, sweep, and then I'm going to get into my batting stance. Now, there's some really cool variations you can do on this one. I could go in my sweep, and then I could even do a jumping baseball bat. I could do down, sweep, just stepping into a baseball bat. That would be in bow cat of 4. Quite a few different cool variations. We're going to work on the start of this one, and then there's going to be the opportunity that we can incorporate some of the higher level stuff once we've got that down. Okay, so together with me, my right foot's in front. I'm going to bring the bow up, downward thrust. Bring the bow up, sweep, and I'm in my batting stance. Okay, again, right foot's in front, downward thrust, using my hips and getting a full chamber. You guys notice that bow is up quite high, and then I'm getting it down, simulating that I'm striking somebody in the knee. Okay, so I want to generate lots of power on that by bringing the bow up nice and high and then driving my hips into it as I strike with that bow. Together with me, stepping back, downward thrust, sweep. So there's nothing really fancy about this sweep. All I'm doing is bringing in, I'm not even really adjusting my hands. They stay the same. Coming down for the strike, bring it up, sweep, and then I adjust my hand after to get into that baseball position. Different angle for you guys. In my right fighting stance or right forward stance, downward thrust, bring the bow up, sweep. I can still use my hips coming across. It's a little bit more tricky, but it's definitely doable. Stepping back with my right foot, downward thrust, bringing the bow up over my head, sweep, adding stance. When I do the sweep on this one, guys, I still want to make sure that I'm sweeping through my target and moving into that baseball bat. Different angle for you guys. Right foot in front, downward thrust, sweep. Again. A couple times on this side, and then we're going to switch directions. One more time. Okay, let's go to left dominant. So I'm in my left dominant, left foot is forward. I'm going to bring that left foot back, and then I sweep. Just like the right side, only opposite. Bring the bow up, sweep into my batting stance. I like to kind of squat down a little bit when I get into that batting stance. Gives it like a nice polished visual or representation. Left hand in front, left foot in front, bring the bow up. Downward thrust. Again, I'm using my hips. Maybe a little bit more difficult if you're right-handed to get that coordination down. Bring the bow up, sweep. Want to make sure that the sweep is low enough and it's still swinging through. You're going to have to turn your body a little bit to get more comfortable on this one because my hips aren't forward. They're kind of to the side. So there's a little bit of extra turning involved with this one. Left dominant. Downward thrust. Bring the bow up. Sweep. Different direction. And again. Focusing on the chamber. We want a nice chamber on this one, on that downward thrust. It's going to give that downward thrust motion a lot of power. Okay, we're going to do two more from this direction. And one. And one more. Two. Good. And resting. Let's shake it out. Grab a quick water. We're going to do a quick cool down. Adjust my bows on my rack. Let's turn to the side, fix our uniforms. Good. Okay. Shoulders. Good. And the other side. One thing that I've really noticed with my own personal training is the more I can incorporate hip snap into techniques, it really does make them pop. So if you can incorporate that into your own training, it's really makes it feel very powerful. Okay, so I'm going to stretch out my hips a little bit. We're tweaking them pretty good today. We call that our twitch. We can get that twitch. It's really going to help make those techniques pop. Good. We're going to spread our legs, hands on our hips, down. We're just going to do some trunk rotations. Just a few times to each side, guys. And then back the other way. Good. Let's bow out. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to start typing. I'm going to stick around for a couple minutes if anyone wants to chat. Attention and bow. Thanks for coming to class, guys. It was awesome. If you want to train with me more frequently, check out Ultimate Bow on GMAU. I'd love to have you training with us. Have a great day. Okay, guys. Anyone have any questions for me? Okay, guys. Have a great day.